Story 1. The Wrong Alarm. It started with something so ordinary. I almost didn't think twice. My alarm clock. I always set it for 7 a.m. I'm meticulous about it. I double-check before I sleep. But that morning, the sound jolted me awake at exactly 6:13 a.m. Not 6:12. Not 6:14. 6:13. Sharp. And it wasn't the usual soft chime I was used to. It was a voice. A female voice I didn't recognize. Clear, calm, almost robotic, but layered with something human. It said, "Wake up, Eliza. You're late again." My heart skipped. Eliza? Who the hell is Eliza? I sat up, confused. Maybe it was a dream. I reached for my phone to shut it off, but the screen was different. Not just the wallpaper. The entire layout was unfamiliar. The icons were in weird shapes, almost retro-futuristic. The text? It wasn't in English. In fact, I couldn't tell what language it was. It had sharp symbols, almost geometric, like something alien or encrypted. I rubbed my eyes. When I looked again, it was back to normal. My familiar lock screen, my photo, my apps in their usual order. No strange notifications. No voice. I stared at it, waiting. Maybe my brain hadn't caught up to being awake yet. But something in me knew that wasn't a glitch. That wasn't a bug. It felt deliberate. I opened my alarm app. Only one alarm was set. 7 a.m., as always. No log of 6:13. No history. Nothing. Still, I got ready early. I couldn't shake the chill. The apartment felt off. Like when you return from vacation and everything feels slightly wrong. Like a copy of your life that was hastily put back together. I noticed my toothbrush was on the left side of the sink instead of the right. My coffee tasted weaker, but I hadn't changed the beans. Even my cat, Milo, stared at me a second too long before running away, as if he wasn't quite sure who I was. On my way out, I passed the hallway mirror. I stopped, not because I looked different, but because I didn't blink. My reflection stood there, frozen. Then, half a second later, blinked. I gasped. Stepped back. It blinked again, on time this time. Normal. Was it sleep deprivation? Stress. I told myself to shake it off. But as I locked my door, I couldn't help but feel like I had woken up. Not in a different mood. Not in a different day. But in someone else's life. And worse, someone was still watching. Story 2. The Family That Isn't Mine. I got home that evening like any other day, tired, emotionally drained, just wanting to sink into the couch and disappear into some mindless show. But the moment I stepped inside, I stopped. Something was on my coffee table. A photo album. Thick. Leather-bound. Old. I didn't own a photo album. I never have. I stood there, frozen for a moment, staring at it like it might breathe. Had someone been in my apartment? I checked the door. Locked. Windows? Shut. Nothing broken. I approached the album cautiously, like it was some cursed object from a horror movie. Dustless. Pristine. And engraved with initials I didn't recognize. EM. I opened it. Inside were photographs. Hundreds of them. All high quality. all perfectly staged. At first, they seemed normal, just regular family moments. A young woman blowing out candles on a cake. A man hugging two children. A grandmother holding a newborn. But as I flipped through the pages, my chest began to tighten. The young woman in the pictures, the one at the birthday party, the beach trip, the Christmas dinner table, was me. Same face, same smile. Same tiny scar above the left eyebrow from when I fell off my bike at 7. But there was something different. Her hair was longer in some photos, styled in ways I never wore mine. She wore clothes I didn't own. She was surrounded by people I didn't know, smiling, laughing, arms around each other like they'd lived decades together. In one picture, I was sitting between an older couple who looked like proud parents. I don't even know my real parents. I grew up in foster care. In another, I was holding hands with a tall man in a suit, both of us dressed for a wedding. I was the bride. But I'm not married. I live alone. I don't even date. The more I turned the pages, the more wrong everything felt. Vacations I never went on. Children I never had. A life that wasn't mine. But that face was me. Over and over again. Living someone else's memories. Panic took over. I dropped the album and stumbled to the bathroom. I needed to look at myself, to make sure I was still real. Still me. I stared into the mirror. Same face. Same skin. Same scar. But the eyes. They didn't look like mine. They looked older. Tired in a way I couldn't explain. Worn down by memories I didn't own. They had the weight of someone who had lived a different life, a harder life. I stared, waiting for my reflection to move, to blink, to catch up. It didn't. Not at first. And then it smiled. Just barely. But not because I did. And that's when I realized. Maybe this wasn't my first time crossing over. Maybe I've been living on borrowed time. In borrowed skin. Story 3. The apartment shift. The next morning, I woke up with a strange heaviness in my chest. Like my body knew something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. The world outside the window looked too still. The light had a slight tint like a filter had been applied over reality. Pale, greenish, unnatural. I shrugged it off. Sleep inertia. Maybe a storm coming. I grabbed my keys and stepped into the hallway. But something was wrong. The hallway outside my apartment felt longer. It used to be maybe 10 steps from my door to the elevator. Now it stretched like a tunnel, dim, distant, off-kilter. The wallpaper looked older, like it had peeled and been painted over again and again. The carpet was thinner under my feet, like thousands of footsteps had worn it down. And then I saw it. My neighbor's door was gone. Apartment 3B, Karen's place. She always leaves a ceramic frog outside her door. A weird little thing I hated. But today, nothing. Just blank wall. In its place, slightly to the right, was a stairwell. A doorless opening. A staircase spiraling down into shadow. One I'd never seen before. I froze. I've lived here for 3 years. There's no basement. No extra floor. Just 5 stories up. And a rooftop garden that barely survives the winter. But this stairwell was old. Its concrete was cracked and dusty. Cobwebs clung to the railing like veins. It didn't look new. It looked used. Often. I should have turned around right then. I should have gone back inside. Instead, I took a step down. The moment my foot touched the first step, a flickering light sputtered to life below. A soft hum filled the air, low, mechanical, almost like breathing. And then I heard it. A voice. My voice. "Don't go down there, Eliza." It wasn't coming from below. It was behind me, right next to my ear. I spun around. No one. But the air was thick, heavy, buzzing with something I couldn't see, like static had crawled under my skin. I bolted, ran back to my apartment door, number 3A, the only thing that felt familiar. I slammed the door behind me, chest heaving. But as I turned to catch my breath, it wasn't my apartment anymore. The furniture was unfamiliar. The walls were painted a soft blue. Mine had always been white. The artwork was wrong. The scent in the air, lavender and old wood, not my usual cinnamon and dust. A framed photo sat on the entry table. A woman who looked like me, smiling with a man I had never seen in my life. The worst part, she was wearing my favorite sweater. And in that moment I knew I hadn't just walked down a hallway. I had crossed a threshold. And now I wasn't sure which version of me had made it back. Story 4. Eliza's life. When I stepped inside the apartment, or what was supposed to be my apartment, I instantly felt like an intruder. Everything was just a little off. The couch was brown, not gray. The rug had a floral design I would never pick. The scent in the air was faintly sweet, like vanilla and wood polish. It felt lived in, warm, but not mine. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Coming from the kitchen. I turned the corner, heart hammering. And there he was. A man, tall, mid-30s, tousled hair, clean-shaven, standing at the stove with a pan in his hand. He froze the moment he saw me. There was a strange flicker of surprise in his eyes, followed by a smile. Forced. Tight. "You're back early," he said softly. I didn't answer. He walked up, leaned in, and kissed my forehead like he'd done it 1,000 times before. "Rough day, Eliza." That name again. That cursed name. Eliza. I opened my mouth to say something, to correct him, to ask who the hell he was, but no words came. Instead, my mouth moved on its own. Work was slow today. The words slid out, calm and automatic. But I hadn't meant to say them. What the hell was happening? I followed him to the kitchen table, like I'd done it 100 times. Like I'd done it my whole life. And sat down in a chair I didn't recognize. He plated some food and sat across from me. We ate together in silence. I didn't cook this. I don't know this man. And yet, I knew how he liked his pasta. I watched my own hands wash the dishes afterward. Hands that moved confidently through this alien kitchen, grabbing towels from drawers I'd never opened, using a soap I didn't buy. It felt like muscle memory for a body that didn't belong to me. That night, after he fell asleep in a bed that wasn't mine, next to me like it was the most natural thing in the world, I slipped out of the room and searched the apartment. The bookshelves were filled with novels I never read. The walls were decorated with photographs of me and him, vacations, birthdays, lazy mornings. All impossibly real. All utterly unfamiliar. Then I found the journal. It was tucked into a drawer in the study. A brown leather-bound notebook with my handwriting on the first page. Property of Eliza Moore. Page after page. It chronicled a life. Her life. My life. Details I never lived, but somehow understood. Notes about our anniversary dinner. Her promotion at the publishing house. Miscarriage that broke her for months. Tears blurred my eyes as I read, but they weren't mine. They were hers. And the more I read, the more I remembered. Not fully, not clearly, but like fragments of a dream I had forgotten, rushing back with the scent of a song or the sound of a name whispered in the dark. Eliza Moore. Wife. Editor. Daughter of a woman who used to braid her hair every Sunday. The memories didn't belong to me, but they were starting to fit like puzzle pieces I didn't know were missing. And in that quiet, stolen moment, I wasn't sure anymore if I was dreaming her life, or if she had just finally reclaimed mine. Story 5. The Return or Not. It was almost midnight when I found the mirror. I hadn't meant to. I was searching for something, anything, that could prove this place was ever mine. The man, Eliza's husband, had gone to sleep. Or maybe he thought I was Eliza now. I opened the hallway closet, and that's when I saw it. The mirror. Not mounted. Not hanging. Just leaning against the back wall, hidden behind coats and old blankets. But what stopped me cold was that it was wrapped. Dozens of strands of red thread were tightly wound around it like a web, delicate, obsessive, almost ritualistic. It looked like someone or something desperately didn't want anyone to look inside. Or maybe didn't want anyone to come out. I don't know why I reached for it. Why I peeled the threads away one by one. They clung to my fingers like silk, warm, oddly organic. Something inside me whispered, "Break it." It wasn't a thought. It was a command. And without hesitation, I grabbed a flashlight and smashed it across the glass. But the mirror didn't shatter. No cracks. No fragments. Just a blink. Not mine. Hers. The reflection in the mirror blinked once, slowly. Eliza. Or me. Or whatever version of me this was. She looked exactly like me, but her eyes were sharper. Her face slightly more hollow. She had a quiet grief in her stare that pulled at something deep inside my chest. She didn't speak at first. And then, barely audible. I wasn't supposed to leave. I stumbled backward, heart racing. The lights in the hallway flickered. Not like a power surge. More like the light itself was confused. Then the walls began to breathe. Yes, breathe. They pulsed. Expanded. Contracted. Like lungs under drywall. I screamed, but the sound came out muted, like I was yelling into water. Then, the memories began to break. Shatter like thin glass. My 7th birthday. Gone. Replaced by images of a swing set beside a lake I'd never seen. My mother's voice. Rewritten with a woman humming lullabies in French. My dog, Charlie. Erased. Replaced by a gray cat named Jasper. I felt my brain scrambling, trying to hold on to the fragments of who I was, but they were being overwritten, one after another, like a corrupted hard drive replacing files without permission. And Eliza, the reflection, just stood there, watching me fall apart, watching herself return. The room tilted. My knees buckled. As I collapsed to the floor, my head swimming in 1,000 flickering half-memories that weren't mine. I had one final, crystal clear thought. I think I crossed into someone else's life by mistake. But maybe now, I'm not the one making the mistake. And then, everything went black. Story 6. The Repeating Stranger. At first, I thought it was just coincidence. Big city, lots of people, random faces blur into each other. But this man, he wasn't random. I saw him first at the bus stop. He was leaning against the glass shelter, hands in the pockets of a dark olive jacket. Didn't look up, didn't move. The next day, I saw him again. At the grocery store this time. Aisle 7. Frozen foods. Same jacket. Same shoes. Same stillness. He wasn't shopping. Just standing. Watching me. By the third time, at the bank, I knew something was wrong. He stood behind me in line. Close. Too close. I turned, slowly, pretending to check the time. He met my gaze. And for a split second, his eyes widened in shock. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. Like he recognized me, but from the wrong place. I froze. He said nothing. I blinked, and when I looked again, he was gone. I tried to explain it to a friend. They laughed it off. Said I was paranoid. Said I needed sleep. But the next night, I saw him outside my apartment building, standing across the street under a flickering street lamp. He was staring up at my window, hands still in his jacket, expression blank. That was the night I decided to follow him. The next day, I skipped work, waited at the cafe across from the library. I'd seen him there last week. Right on schedule, he appeared again. I tailed him, carefully, quietly. He walked slowly, almost methodically, like he wanted to be followed, but never looked back. Down an alley behind the old train station. Then around the corner. And then, nothing. Just a brick wall. No door. No exit. No sign of where he went. I rushed forward, confused. He couldn't have just vanished. I ran my hands along the bricks. Solid, cold, ordinary. And then, my phone buzzed. An airdrop request. But no name. Just this message. Do you remember who you were before this life? My fingers trembled as I accepted it. A photo appeared on my screen. Grainy, dim, taken from a high angle like security cam footage. And in it was me, standing at the bus stop, wearing his jacket. My breath caught in my throat. That wasn't a lookalike. That was me. But I never wore that jacket. I don't even own one like it. Unless I had. In some other life. In some other version of this reality. One where I was the one watching from shadows. Where I was the one who didn't belong anymore. Now, I'm afraid to look in mirrors. Afraid to ride the bus. Afraid to fall asleep and wake up as someone else. Because if he's still watching me, maybe he's just waiting for the right moment to switch back. Story 7. I answered the wrong call. It was 3:33 a.m. when my phone rang. The kind of hour where the air feels thinner, like reality itself is more fragile. I was already half awake, sweating from another dream I couldn't remember. The ringtone cut through the silence like a knife. Unknown number. No name. No caller ID. Just those digits blinking like a warning. I should have ignored it. But something, some strange compulsion, made me answer. I pressed the screen to my ear. Didn't say a word. Neither did they. For 5 seconds, there was nothing. Just faint static, like wind blowing through a tunnel made of metal. And then, in a whisper so faint I almost missed it. Don't go to work today. They know you're not the real one. My blood ran cold. Who is this? I asked. No response. Just a click. Then silence. I sat up, heart pounding. The room felt different, heavier. My eyes scanned the shadows like something had crawled in with the voice. I barely slept after that. Just lay there, trying to breathe normally, as if breathing normally would make everything normal again. When the sun came up, my rational brain took over. It was a prank, I told myself. Or a wrong number. I wasn't going to let some creep derail my day. So I got dressed, made my coffee, and walked to work. The first red flag hit the moment I stepped into the building. The receptionist froze when she saw me. Her eyes widened. Not in greeting, in fear. You came back, she said quietly. Then she stood up so fast she knocked her chair over and ran. Didn't ask questions. Didn't wait for a reply. Just vanished behind a door, like my presence had triggered a silent alarm. I stood there, frozen, feeling suddenly too visible, too observed. As I walked deeper into the office, the whispers began. Soft at first, then louder, like static made of words. Is that her? She wasn't supposed to return. Check the timestamp. Does she remember anything? No one spoke directly to me. No one met my eyes. It was like I had become an echo of myself, something not meant to exist in this space anymore. Even my keycard glitched, flickering red before finally turning green after a long pause. In the break room, someone dropped their coffee when I walked in. No apology, just a terrified stare, like they'd seen a ghost wearing my skin. By mid-morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I rushed to the bathroom just to get away, locked the door, tried to breathe. And that's when I saw it. The mirror. A note had been taped to the glass. No signature. No handwriting I recognized. Just one line, typed in bold, black ink. If you're reading this, leave now. You're already glitching. I stared at it for what felt like hours. And for the first time, I noticed something about my reflection. It wasn't moving right. There was a delay. Milliseconds. But enough. I raised my hand. It followed, too slow. Then too fast. Then still. I turned and ran. Left my things behind. Didn't clock out. Didn't say goodbye. Now I don't know if I'll ever go back. Because maybe the voice was right. Maybe they do know. Maybe I'm not the real one anymore. And the scariest part, maybe I never was. Story 8. The rental car that knew me. I needed a break. just a weekend away. No emails, no phone calls, no people asking if I'm okay when I'm clearly not. So I rented a car, something simple, and planned a solo drive upstate. Fresh air, empty roads, a little silence. The rental place gave me a silver sedan. Nothing fancy. But the moment I sat down, the seat moved. Not a random shift, but a full, precise adjustment. Backrest tilted. Legroom expanded. Like it had done this for me before. I paused. There was no key, just a push-button start. As I reached for it, the radio turned on by itself. A slow, haunting melody poured through the speakers. A song I hadn't heard in 10 years. My father's favorite. He used to hum it while cooking. He died before I ever got my driver's license. This car couldn't possibly know that. But it did. Before I could react, the GPS lit up. No sound. No prompt. Just a destination already entered. One word on the screen. Home. Except I hadn't typed anything in. And this wasn't my address. Still, I sat there, watching the blinking blue dot move across the map. And something, curiosity or something deeper, told me to follow. The route took me out of town, off the freeway, into unfamiliar terrain. Winding roads lined with trees. Fields stretching endlessly on either side. But nothing felt random. It was like the car knew where it was going, even if I didn't. After about 90 minutes, it slowed as we turned down a quiet cul-de-sac. 5 identical houses. Same porch lights. Same hedges. And then, one of the garages opened. On its own. Like it recognized me. I pulled in slowly. Every inch of my body telling me to turn around, to run, to wake up. I stepped out. Heart pounding. The front door was slightly ajar. A soft light spilled into the entryway. Inside, everything was eerily still. Clean. Lived in. Smelled faintly of vanilla and old wood. A scent I couldn't place, but that made my chest ache with a familiarity I didn't understand. On the dining table was a cake. Chocolate. Decorated with white frosting. Candles already lit. A card beside it simply said, "Happy birthday." I stepped closer. My name was written across the cake in looping cursive. But something was wrong. It read, "Happy 34th, Eliza." I stared. I'm 28. I never told the rental agency my birthday. I never gave them that name. And this definitely wasn't my house. I turned in slow motion, scanning the room for answers, for logic. That's when I saw the photos. On the walls. On the shelves. On the fridge. Me. Dozens of pictures of me. Smiling, cooking. Sleeping beside someone I didn't recognize. Posing on a porch I'd never stood on. A life that wasn't mine. But somehow, deep down, felt like it had been. Now I can't return the car. Every time I try to start the engine to go back to my real home, the GPS reroutes itself. The destination is always the same. But it's not mine. It never was. Or maybe it used to be. Before I forgot. And I'm starting to wonder, what if I never rented the car at all? What if it just came back for me? Story 9. Reflections lag behind. It started innocently enough. Just a flicker. A hesitation in the mirror. One I blamed on tired eyes and bad lighting. I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom one night when I noticed it. I spat, rinsed, and my reflection didn't move. Not immediately. It was a second too late. Just 1 second. But enough. I froze. Watched as it slowly caught up, mimicking me like a tired actor in a role they'd grown to resent. Then it smiled. I didn't. The next few days, I kept checking mirrors. Any excuse. Brushing my hair, fixing my collar, pretending to stretch. At first, things seemed normal again. But every so often, I'd catch something. A delayed blink. A twitch that I didn't feel. A subtle turn of the head when mine was still. It became a ritual, this unspoken duel between me and the glass. And then, one night, it changed. I was getting ready for bed, wiping fog from the mirror after a hot shower. The glass cleared slowly. My face emerged through the mist, eyes heavy, jaw clenched. And then her lips moved. Not mine. My reflection. Mouthing something I couldn't hear, but I could read the shape of the words. Let me out. I stumbled backward, nearly slipping on the tiles. My heart pounded so hard it echoed in my ears. The mirror was still. My reflection looked back at me normally now. But I knew what I saw. That night, I covered every mirror in the house. Bathroom, bedroom, hall closet. Even the one on my phone screen. I didn't want to see her. Didn't want to give her a window. But it didn't stop there. The glitch began to follow me. In the dressing room of a clothing store, I saw two of me. One standing still while I turned, watching me from behind the glass. Its eyes were wide, smiling. In the office elevator, my reflection didn't step in with me. It just stood there, outside the doors, watching me descend. Then, it got worse. Sometimes, the reflection was only her, not me. Just standing there, mimicking, waiting. And eventually, mirrors stopped showing me anything at all. No reflection, no glitch, just darkness. A void, black, empty, but heavy, like something was just on the other side, pressing against the surface. Now, people around me are acting different. They say I seem off, colder, quieter. My coworker flinched when I said her name yesterday. Said my voice sounded too deep, too distant. My best friend texted me last night. I had a nightmare you were in it, but it wasn't you. I can feel something inside me. Watching, listening, practicing. Like a second version of myself, the one behind the glass, finally found a way through. And sometimes, when I speak, I hear a second echo layered beneath my own voice. And I wonder, did she get out? Or worse, am I the one still trapped inside? Story 10. I got a letter from my future self. It was a Thursday morning when I found the letter, tucked neatly in my mailbox. No return address, no postage stamp, just my name, handwritten in looping black ink across the front. That alone was enough to unsettle me. I rarely get physical mail anymore, and never without a sender. I opened it cautiously. Inside was a single sheet of thick, off-white paper, typed in all caps, with no signature. But the moment I saw the handwriting, my stomach dropped, because it looked exactly like mine. Every curve, every space, even the way I dot my I slightly to the left. The message was short. On July 14th, you'll be offered a drink. Say no. It's how they switch you. No explanation. No who. No why. Just a warning, clinical, cold, and terrifying. I reread it 5 times, searching for something to ground it in logic. A prank? A coincidence? But the date, July 14th, was only 2 days away. For a while, I laughed it off. The rational part of me needed to. I tossed the letter into a drawer, told myself I was being ridiculous. But July 14th came faster than expected. That evening, I attended a networking event downtown. I almost didn't go. Something in my gut told me to stay home. But curiosity always wins. The venue was a glass-walled rooftop bar, all neon and jazz and clinking glasses. I mingled, made small talk, tried to ignore the crawling sensation under my skin. Then, right around 8:40 p.m., it happened. A man, late 30s, confident smile, sharp blazer, walked up to me. We had never spoken before. He extended a crimson-colored drink in a crystal glass. "You look like you could use this," he said, smiling. I froze. The drink shimmered strangely under the lights, like it was thick, heavier than liquid should be. I didn't reach for it. Not yet. Instead, I looked at him. Really looked. And there was something wrong with his smile. Like he was trying too hard to seem normal. Something deep in me whispered, "This is it." I slowly shook my head. "No, thank you." The man's smile faltered for a brief second. Just a flicker, like static across a screen. Then he nodded, tucked the glass into a tray, and walked away without another word. But that moment stayed with me. His disappointment wasn't casual. It was strategic, as if I had just disrupted a process, delayed a plan. Later that night, back home, I opened the drawer to check the letter again. But it was gone. In its place was a new one. Same envelope, same handwriting. This time it said, "Good, you've delayed it. But they'll try again. Don't trust anyone offering you something you didn't ask for. Especially yourself." I stood there in the dark, holding the paper with shaking hands. My own voice echoed in my head. My laugh. My tone. My image. What if they don't need to impersonate me? What if they just need my permission to replace me? I haven't accepted anything since. No coffee orders. No gifts. No drinks at bars. No free samples. Nothing. Because now, every act of kindness, every small offer, feels like a test. And I keep wondering, what happens if next time the one offering is me?